Hello, everybody. My name is Luqman, and this is.
Hello everyone, I'm Ahmed, and just to let the professor know, we are a team of 4 members, and 2 of the members they worked on making the slides and the presentation, and me and Lukman we were working on the presentation, and our task is to do the presentation and make the video for it.
Let's start with the basics. What is VS Code? VS Code, or Visual Studio's Code, is a free open source code editor made by Microsoft. It's designed to be lightweight yet powerful, supports many programming languages. What makes it really useful for developers is its built in support for debugging, Git integration, syntax, highlighting, and extensions, which let us customize it for almost any workflow. In this project, we focused on 3 major testing patterns found in VS Code: test automation framework, scripted test, and layer test. These patterns are key to how large-scale projects like VS Code maintain quality and catch bugs before reaching users. First, we have the test automation framework. This pattern involves a structured setup of tools, rules, and scripts that automate the testing process. In VS Code, tools like Mocha and Playwright are used to run these tests consistently. Automation saves time and ensures accuracy across different parts of the application, especially when changes happen often. Uh, Related to behavioral pattern, this pattern also ties into behavioral design patterns. It follows the template method pattern where shared logic is used and individual test cases customize specific steps. It also uses the command pattern where functions like run command, rename symbol are triggered to perform actions during test. Scripted test. Next, we have the scripted testing pattern. Here, developers write specific test cases manually in code, often in JavaScript or TypeScript. This gives full control over what gets tested and how VS Code testing files like codeclient.bat are examples of this. It's perfect for catching edge cases or testing new features in detail. Ahmed?
And related to scripted test is the behavioral pattern. So the scripted pattern is related to the behavioral pattern, and the behavioral pattern what it does basically is each in especially in the scripted test, each test script behaves like a command, and it performs a task, meaning it tests a specific function or a specific file, and it expects a specific result. And it can also reflect the observer pattern when watching test outcomes, etc. And this is all these tests so far, they're all related to BDD, meaning a behavior driven development, meaning how a test looks to the end user. And when we test the application, we're testing it based off the end user and the way the client or the end user would use it. Going on with the third test pattern that we recognized in the VS Code was the layer test. And layer test is a way of testing different parts of an application, right? The big applications, they have different layers. They have the UI layer, they have the data layer, they have the logic layer, they have many different layers. And with the layer test, each layer is tested individually and separately. And this is seen through different commands. This is seen through different tests in VS Code itself for the browser, for Node, for Electron environments. So this is testing each layer separately and individually, making sure that each layer it works by itself, and it's grounded, and it's robust. And then related layer test is related to the structural pattern, actually. So it matches the facade and bridge patterns, where basically each layer has its own interface, but it connects it back to the main system. So same way in the layer test, we're testing each of the layers separately, which basic, and then if we can run that and it works, then we test them all together later on. We did recognize and acknowledge these 3 patterns, testing patterns in VS Code, but we also did see some issues which weren't weren't major issues for the testing itself, but there were some issues. For example, the inconsistent behavior with multiple test extensions. So a user who was using the test of VS Code, they recognized that running in multiple test extensions, when they do that and they carry out the command run test, then this it does not update all of the test statuses correctly. Another issue is continuous test runs for a selected test. So, for example, there have been challenges reported in managing the continuous test runs for the individual tests and for tests for specific files, etc. And number three, there's been test explorer loading issues. This issue was actually resolved, and it was because of a extension that a user was using, but this issue has been resolved. Another issue we recognized was ignoring the run test .ts in the extension test. So this file was used to configure and run extension tests, but it's sometimes ignored by the test runner. And that's a pretty big issue, but I believe it was also resolved. And the last issue we found was there was inability to run the inability to run single unit tests. Sometimes we attempt to run or debug a single unit test, but it can result in errors like a file not found or something like that. So these are some issues we found in VS Code testing patterns. Although the testing in VS Code is it reflects the command and strategy design patterns, and it is actually a very robust system with using many different testing patterns. We only talked about three, but it incorporates and it includes many different testing patterns, and it is a very robust system itself. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Bye bye.